All right. Hello. Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of What's Next. My name's Matthew Quinn. I'm your host for this show. Today is going to be our second in a series on directors online. And in particular, this week, we're going to look at musical and improv directors who have made the pivot from in real life shows to online shows and workshops. I'd like to introduce our first guest of the early evening. Mr. Marcus Sams is the founder of Moment Improv Theater as well as the artistic director of the San Francisco Improv Festival. He's performed since 2001 and has been in over 70 plus national improv festivals, including the Secret Show at the Chicago Improv Festival. Marcus believes that improv skills are life skills and that anyone can participate in this magical and transformative art. He's brought these skills to such companies as LinkedIn, Google, Microsoft, Airbnb, and eBay. Marcus was originally trained as a stage actor and brings this respect for stagecraft and training to the improv world. He believes that improv is not a crapshoot, and that once one learns the craft of improv, it frees them up to experience a deeper level of play. An interesting note on Marcus. Marcus is the one and only African-American owned improv theater and training center in the United States. And he hopes to influence and help change that within his lifetime. All right, Marcus, excellent. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, well, I want to introduce us to our second guest. Joining us from Los Angeles, Mr. John Coppola from Studio C Artists. John's a native of Brooklyn, New York, and is a multi-talented director and acting coach whose clients have starred on HBO, Showtime, ABC, CBS, NBC, Netflix, Lifetime, Fox, Warner Brothers, the list goes on. As a director, John has helmed more than 100 theatrical productions in New York, Los Angeles, and abroad, including groundbreaking productions of Shakespeare, Brecht, John Patrick's Shanley, and Caryl, Churchill. As a film director, John's accolades include the award for Best Director at the New York International Film and Video Festival for his film. John currently lives in Los Angeles, where he is a high in-demand top acting coach. And just recently, he's been working with New Musicals, Inc. and directing several of their live stage and soon to be heard or in the process of being heard online video shows. So, John, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Oh, well, thank you. All right. So here we all are talking directions. So I usually start this show. It's kind of become a tradition. Where I ask each of the guests to kind of run through how did this year start? What were the big plans? What was looking to happen? And then how did everything change for you mid-March? So why don't we start with John? I remember calling you, John. John and I have worked together. We're partners on several projects. And I called you a few weeks into this. And you had already started making your pivot, but tell us a little bit about what was going on before all this.
Well, before all of this, I had a few jobs lined up with NMI, New Musicals Inc., and some other projects coming up for the Fringe. And all of a sudden, I teach a masterclass on Tuesday nights, and I have clients who are auditioning. And then one day, it just all stopped. I mean, it was just, it ended, and didn't really know what was going to happen or like what we were going to do. And I got a phone call from NMI, and they sort of wanted to move forward, and we were thinking of ways to move forward. And the first thing that happened is there was a musical, a full-length musical called United We Tweet. And it's kind of a spoof on Donald Trump and the governors during the pandemic and having this meeting. And we thought, well, if it is the pandemic, they can't really have the meeting, so they would have the meeting on Zoom. And thus, we decided to then make the first Zoomsicle. And it was crazy. It was crazy fun. It was super exciting. Nobody knew what they were doing, including me, especially on the first one. Now, there's been 5 since then. So you know, the first one was the Rocky one, but you know, we sort of just like jumped in, and I got super support from Scott Guy and Elise Dewsbury and the company, and we just sort of like casted and sort of figured a way to make a musical Zoomsicle. And it was really challenging, and it was really, really exciting to direct this musical in my bedroom, basically, in shorts and a t-shirt. It was kind of crazy. Let's see, what else can I tell you about that?
Well, that's a great start, and we're going to go into details about how you make all that work. But you pivoted pretty quickly, and I want to add, you had another show that wasn't a musical that you had directed prior to all that.
Yeah, it was a show called Sick. It was about the panelists with the psychiatrist about whether or not homosexuality was a sickness in the 70s, and it was supposed to be at the Living Room series at the Blank Theater, I believe. And it got picked up by a festival, and we came up with that idea because it was a panel. It could look like television. Mm-hmm. And so that was also something that was parlayed. The hard part about it, and what I have to tell directors that I think was one of the secrets that I learned, is Zoom is not television and it's not film. It's its own thing. And that show was 2 hours, and you have to keep people at their computer watching talking heads for 2 hours, and you have to think about how to make that entertaining. So I guess what I'll do is I'll save a little bit more of that information for the
definitely.
Yeah.
And I love seeing Marcus right next door, just smiling at all this. He's ready. So Marcus, I didn't mention you're in San Francisco right now, correct?
East Bay, but yes, the theater itself,
the Bay Area, the beautiful Bay. Yeah. So you started out the year, you guys had the Improv Festival late last year, right? And then you came into January. What were your plans? What was going to happen?
Oh, man. So I was teaching about 5 days / nights a week. I had 2 other instructors also that were teaching classes for Moment. We were producing 2 shows a month and a jam. And the classes were increasing, the corporate training opportunities were increasing. Started working with a couple of bigger tech companies, which is awesome because that's been able to continue even through this pandemic. But yeah, everything was like, I'm like, this is the year, everything changes. And I was right.
Yeah. And so it changed, everything changed. And what was your first quick kind of pivot moment? I mean, a lot of people said they kind of had like few weeks where they just kind of getting their head around it. What was kind of your initial pivot?
Yeah, so I wanted to, I looked up the dates because I thought this might come up. And let's see, I think our last public engagement was on March 15th. And our class was a little bit before that.
Okay.
And what ended up happening is I consider myself extremely, extremely lucky because I have an IT background. I built a computer in high school as my senior project. I made the plans and executed on a faux VR glove when I was in high school. So I've always had this love for technology. Mm-hmm. So I already had, a beast of a computer and this, that, and the other. So when this happened, I've always been of the mindset of like, oh, crap, that just happened. Okay, what's next? Yeah, oh, I think I just said titular line.
I like that. Yeah.
What?
Nice.
So for me, one thing that I have to say that I'm kind of proud on is that I've got a house team called the Moment Players, wonderful group of performers. And we meet every Monday. And I had the final class in person on a Wednesday. But by next Monday, I had already brought them all into Zoom.
Wow.
So I think that I pivoted very quickly.
Yeah.
And I started crunching, like, okay, how do we do this?
Mm-hmm.
And funny enough, even though I pivoted very quickly with them, for the general public, I wanted to really hone everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't come out with classes for like maybe another 4 weeks. We were kind of just testing things.
Mm-hmm.
And Moment's first official show is actually happening this Saturday.
Nice.
So I've spent a lot of time in like development, so to speak.
That's great and wise. My view too is kind of watching for weeks and months of what's going on, playing around, talking to people. And one of the things, and we'll talk more because I know you've got, with your tech background, a lot of bells and whistles. But you had a really great buildup of kind of the launch of your technique and what you were working on in a video that built up, and you kind of showed that and had a great response in the improv community. How long ago was that? Do you remember, when did you post that one?
Oh my
like
goodness.
A month, 2 months ago?
A couple months ago.
Months ago.
Because I launched into teaching the FLY technique, which stands for fixed lens improvisation.
Nice.
I think I started teaching those classes just a couple months ago also.
Okay.
Yeah.
So quick pivot and then some time to analyze and create.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So John, so both of you guys, great job on the quick pivot and coming out of this and working it. That is, and helping others do it too through what you're doing, which is very important. As directors, you're kind of leading the charge with that for the actors. Now, John, it was interesting because, and like Marcus had his IT background, you had the benefit that you had worked with New Music Inc. and had worked several shows with the short musical format.
Mm-hmm.
And Scott and Elise, who will be on a show next week to talk more detail about the back end of making a musicals, they were also very technically savvy and were able to kind of get things in place. But as a director, going from in real life directing with musicals to suddenly Zoom rehearsals and creating a musical online, what was that like? What were the challenges that you found?
It was like, it was just really interesting because I remember them waking up. I remember waking up the next day, like they have that expression, it's called buyer's remorse, where you buy something and then the next day you regret it. When I said yes to it, the next day I was like, what did I just say? I don't even know how to do this, But it was interesting. I was reading Easy Riders, Raging Bulls, which is Coppola, Scorsese, George Lucas, and I forget who else, Taylor Hackford's book. And they said the way to do well in this business, there's a chapter on, is to just say yes to everything. So I figured, I just woke up and I said yes. They asked me if I could do it, and I said yes. And I am not like Marcus, technically savvy. I am, I have trouble copy and pasting. Okay, so I'm just being really, honest about that. And we just basically, we got the cast. The first challenge: can't play music because music being played, everybody hears it differently, and we're on delay. First challenge. Second challenge, you can't choreograph people at the same time because they can't sing at the same time. And so that's the second challenge. So now you got to teach the music, you got to choreograph, and you have to work on the script. The one thing about Zoom is, like I said, it's not television and it's not film. Zoom likes movement and it likes depth of field. So it loves when you're doing stuff like this and when you're coming in and when you're going back. But the thing is you can't, what the new lesson is you can't do that while you're talking. So if the scene is, I don't like you and I'm going to break your neck, right? You can't do this. You can't go, I don't like you and I'm going to break your neck. You have to do this. I don't like you and I'm going to break your neck. So you have to do something called, I called it, as I figured it out, I called it completing the move. So you can't move, and you can't move kind of and talk sometimes because you got to give the Zoom time to kind of catch up to you. It's slower than you are. That's the reason why we have the delay. So we just sort of moved forward, and I realized that everybody had to do their own music and had to sort of have their own music and track. And, there's complicated harmonies and people singing at the same time. And then I had to choreograph them individually. So they couldn't dance at the same time. The first time I went to do that, it was hysterical. I mean, it was like I looked at it, and it's like you're looking at all these people, and they all are. Imagine the same song playing at different times, and people dancing completely differently in front of you, and you're just sitting there, and it's like, cut. I don't even know what to do with that. And then,
what did you do though? Like what? So how did you deal with that?
Well, what I did was I choreographed each person individually without the other people around. We had to get a musical director, a fabulous guy, Ron Barnett, who, if you ever need a musical director, is just ridiculously awesome. And he did tracks so that the people could sing by themselves. And then what we did is everybody recorded themselves. Everybody got, it was crazy. It was crazy. They got the props and costumes delivered to their house. The actors on all of the shows, I must have directed, now with the 5 shows, there has to be at least 30 actors. They were all so amazing because they were in charge of their own costumes, their own props, their lighting, and their set. And, if we were shooting at 11 o'clock, they had to have all that ready by 11 o'clock with their makeup, hair, and everything. It was amazing, really. It was an amazing experience. And so that was the first thing. And then what I found out is that on Zoom, eventually everybody could record themselves. So what happened is with the camera and everyone recording themselves, you get a ton of footage to edit. Because you get everybody's footage. And so you have more footage than you would if you were making a film or a TV show. And so that was able to make up for any problems that you could have. And the edit was really important because that makes it clean. Now on the live streaming shows, there is no edit. And so what you have to do, that was a straight play. There was no music in it. And what I had to do with that is I had to realize that we couldn't just sit and talk for 2 hours. And I had to have people play with, coming down the hallway and making entrances, going away completely and just sticking their head in and coming up with different things to do. And actually, so the blocking, I had to, the lesson in that was blocking had to go probably, I would say, 3 to 5 times more blocking than you would use on stage. Which makes a lot of homework.
Yeah. Well, and actually, I think at this point, it may be good to kind of demonstrate a bit of the stuff that you said. You brought a clip with you from one of the pieces.
I did.
Well, that, Miles, if you can bring that one up. And Johnny, if you can make it full screen and then play that.
Full screen?
Over to the far right. There you go.
Yep. I got it. Okay. Oops.
I love you now and forever.
I love you now and forever.
For the rest
of my life.
You may now kiss the bride.
With all that of the sparkle and the shine, we were happy all the time. So what's that saying? All that matters in the end, when you're staring at the end, with each other, and you're left with only memories to tell. There's no word every day. The rest of my life I'll keep you safe. Taking no signs are gonna be tough. I know that I'll let you see better. You have the perfect wedding. You have the perfect wedding. Perfect wedding. 'Cause it's all you need is love.
Right. Gross.
That was
That was
awesome.
So that was so much fun, John. And
Thanks. I'm trying to get back. There. I am.
there you are. So,
You know, the funny part about it is this is a part that I also forgot. What was so much fun to work with NMI was the writers came up with these Zoom concepts. So that was a wedding. That was $1 million wedding that was planned. And it's the morning of the wedding and they're all on a Zoom chat getting excited about the wedding. And the lockdown happens and the wedding can't happen. So they have the perfect wedding on Zoom.
which I got to say, I've been to 2 of those already in the last 6 months. None as musically inclined as that one that I just saw. So each of those, and so the audience could be clear, each of those parts, you went through Zoom, you rehearsed through Zoom individually with the actors. Mm-hmm. And then basically the editor took all those parts and brought it together to create the final musical.
Yes, and also the other thing about it is because you have so much footage, that also takes a lot of time, and it's a lot of home. So it's an amazing experience because it's a challenge. One of the things that's really cool about it is you feel like after you've directed a musical on Zoom, you feel like you're like unstoppable. Like there is nothing I can't do. But what was cool about it also was that it was the support of NMI and Scott Guy and Elise Dewsbury, but also the writers coming up with these Zoom concepts that worked. There was the other one is about a Zoom dating service because we can't meet anymore, so it's called Close But Not Too Close, and it's about people who meet online and date online. And the other one is called The Breakout, which is about a breakout room where it's a family divorce movie. So, and the kids are putting the parents in a breakout room so they can solve their problem while they're on Zoom because they're away at college and all this stuff. Yeah.
What I like about that, it goes to one of the points that it's coming up a lot in conversation, which is the idea of taking a regular play and throwing it up in front of a camera. Versus writing specifically for this medium and taking advantage of all the tricks. It sounds like you guys did a little bit of a hybrid. You had a set play, but then, like you said, your creative writers were able to adjust, because they wrote it, the structure of the play, keeping the music, all of that, characters, but to fit in a style to justify the Zoom call. I think what a great pivot on all your parts. That's very cool. So thank you for all that. I want to move over to Marcus, because on the other side, so you've got all the challenges of music, you've got all the challenges of blocking and all that with the show. People think improv, oh, you're just making it up as you go along, all that. And I've seen hundreds of Zoom chats with people just talking and being funny. You kind of looked at that and you kind of went your own way. Let's talk a little bit about what you did, because you had a really interesting pivot.
Yeah. So first off, John, congratulations on all of that, because it's just, it's so much fun. It's refreshing. Yeah. So let's see. The pivot that I made, as you mentioned, Matt, is that I was seeing a lot of this, and sometimes not even just this. I was seeing a lot of this, right? And we're all used to these Zoom meetings where we're getting the forehead show. And so this is something that I talk about even in my classes, is there's a big difference between sending information and receiving information. Sending and receiving. And the better that you can get at that, then the more effective of a communicator you are. So what that kind of started me thinking about was camera angles. And I have a film background. I've done film, I've done commercial work. I co-ran a film production company for a bit. And so what got me thinking was, I didn't want to just take what we do on stage and try to shove it into the online medium, because I feel like this is a different medium. It has different constraints, and it demands different things from the performers because we can be doing improv for ourselves, which is completely awesome and life-changing. Everyone should do improv. Who's our audience? How do we give them what they are used to palating, so to speak? And our audiences are used to seeing television in this medium. They're not used to the constant breaking of the fourth wall, right? And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to try to make this a little more cinematic. And so I started thinking about camera angles, and that's when I came up with the fly technique. And it's not FLY, FLI, for fixed lens improvisation. And basically, I'm going to go ahead and raise my desk up a bit so I can kind of show you. Basically, it's the idea that in film and television, the camera moves around the subject, the actor. But in this medium, we're dealing with a fixed lens. So we have to train our actors and improvisers are actors. We have to train them how to use, like John was talking about, depth of field, right? How do we use this in a way that the audience is used to seeing? So what I've done is I have tape marks all on my floor. So I know exactly where my edges are, right? So there's a little pre-work that you want to do with this. And so I've got a couple different spike marks, actually. But the most important spike marks are where you're looking. So here, what this is a faux over-the-shoulder shot. And so as opposed to talking to your improvisers, like your fellow improvisers like this, and then looking down, and in gallery mode, I'll say that too. Most shows that we're seeing are done in gallery mode, right? And what that does for the improviser is you are always on. The audience is never not seeing you, right? So they see those moments of you looking around. And for me, it breaks some of the polish that's possible with the art form. So in this, we do all our shows in speaker view, so that when each actor is talking to the other actor, it actually looks like a camera shot.
So it would be like this.
Yes, absolutely.
And then I would come in and I would be
exactly
like this.
Yeah.
And it would, so Marcus, that's a really interesting idea.
Oh, thanks so much. I'm glad you're listening.
Oh, what? Oh, yeah, sorry. I wasn't listening.
So go ahead, and now that it's on you, go for it back on you. And this is where it gets fun, is now we also get to introduce camera edits. So now when you shift back to me, now this is a much more intense and intimate moment, right? And so that one right there, I would say that we use the extreme close-up for horror, right? Because you can start a scene with like, and then you cut to something else.
So I like it. It is a little challenging because, you know, one of the reasons we're zooming is that you can kind of see what's going on. We're looking at reaction. So the actor really has to train themselves to kind of let go of the need, or do you use monitors and things?
So that's where it gets interesting with this technique, is whenever you are not on screen, the actor is then available to look at the other actor and get the information that they need. So anytime that the camera operator, and that's what I've deemed the behavior that's built into most conferencing platforms, the camera operator is triggered by sound. So the other actor talks, and then I'm here, and I'm actually looking down to seeing what you're doing.
Right.
And then before I trigger the camera operator, I just have to remember that I need to find my eye line and start talking.
Yeah.
And this works for
no, please. This works.
I was just going to say this works for more than just two-person scenes, right? Because there's person A, person B in the scene, but then you can have a third person come in like
Right.
this, and instead of looking at the camera, they're looking at their 2 spike marks. I cannot believe that you did this. And you, the nerve, or
Right.
wherever that goes.
That's really, I love it. I love the problem solving. And Zoom, as you know, they just went through another remash. A new version came out a couple weeks ago that has allowed some benefits and things. Has that influenced? Has that helped what you've been doing with this? Or not affected?
It hasn't really affected it much. One nice thing is that you can actually move boxes around finely.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really important.
So actually in the early in the early days of the shelter in place, and I actually still use this technique, but I use Google Slides. At the beginning of every class, I will take a screen clip of all the students' faces, and then I've got this digital theater. And the trick about this, and please use this idea because it's awesome, I love using it, is you take, after you have all your actors on this virtual stage, which is just a slide, you share out the editor link to it. So then everyone jumps on and they can click on their avatar, and then simply using the left, right, and up and down arrow keys, you can move your little avatar around the stage. So that's how I've been able to do sidelines and get people in a line to do like the improv game art gallery.
I see. And all of that, are you running that? So the actors are all on Zoom, but you're running Zoom through OBS and then layering on these other things to make that happen. Like, there are other tech platforms being used here?
Oh my God.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So here's the thing is like, and this is like, I think this, I want to talk about this later, but you know, we're living in the
bells. Actually, I've got a question. If you want,
yeah.
I've got some questions. If you want to save, I appreciate you building the suspense. So soon. Robin Rothman Taylor, what are your techs using to cut back and forth between different angles? Zoom, StreamYard, or something else? So this is, I guess, the lead into OBS and all the tech. So Robin, we'll get back to that question. But this is maybe the question I was thinking. Wondering if this technique would be useful for musical improv. What a great multiple person question. Show of 7 or 8 improvisers. It looks great. So thought on that, Marcus? And Johnny too? Like,
I think it would be awesome. I think Zoom, we're just learning about all of this right now. And I think it's like every time, every job, every musical that went from the next one to the next one, it was like there was no rules. And each one brought in, had to come up with different ideas and expand. And so just, I mean, of course, I think all things, I'd like to see a Zoom opera.
Yeah. Well, and the one thing, and I know, John, the editing helped to get around this. And Marcus, I don't know with your IT brain if you're trying to crack this code, but that live music seems to be, John, you mentioned it earlier, a big issue here. So with an improv musical, I guess if each actor was singing by themselves, it would be okay.
Well,
right?
What would have to happen right now is that the music would have to, it would have to be okay musically that there was a delay. And as long as that's okay, as long as that becomes one of the rules, it's fine. I don't know if you'd be able to harmonize because two people, that's
impossible.
That would be impossible, but you don't really harmonize in improv musical. You know what I mean? So it's not really there.
The good ones. There can be some
good ones too.
There can be some good stuff. But I agree. I think in your average world of the tech, this is difficult. I have heard of programs Streamweaver. There's some others that everybody's trying to crack this nut of how to do live music and deal with the latency. Marcus, directly to her question, because I agree with John, this is play time, but you've been working with this format. How do you feel musicals work with it?
So one of the things, like when I was developing this, I realized very early on, this is not just for improv. You could do theater this way. And so because like I like to give things. I actually ended up producing like a 12 to 13 page document outlining this entire process, how to deal with your camera angles, what technology you need, tech recommendations for lighting, green screen, earbuds. And it's all laid out in a PDF that lives live on my website. And it's free for the world. And that was my big goal.
And I love that. I remember seeing it and sharing it to many people I knew who were working on this. I'm actually gonna. Is that here?
So yeah, that's my main moment website. But all you have to do is go to the Discovering Fly link in the online improv page.
Great, and we'll also be putting all of this information in the YouTube comments. So anything that comes up in the show, we'll put a direct link to all that information. It really is a stunning PDF. But as much as words are great. Oh, yeah, please.
Well, I was just going to say, and you may be already going there. You probably want to see it.
Dude, you read my mind, man. There's a good moment of give and take there of like.
Oh, moment. Nice plug.
Nice. Yep. Hey, why don't you, hey, Miles, why don't we bring up Marcus' clip and take a look? All right. And Marcus, I'm going to actually, do you want to keep it full screen or do you want to comment on this?
I'll go ahead and keep it full screen.
Okay.
I'd like it to speak for itself, but what I will say is this is a short clip that I extracted from a Moment Players rehearsal, our most recent one, using all our bells and whistles. The only real edited part of this, what you're about to see, is I added the music because we're syncing up with our audio guy and we're going to plug in all the music. So all shows moving forward are going to have live music, live audio, sound effects. Ultimately, what I'm trying to do is create online improvised live sitcoms. So here it is.
Here we go.
Yeah, he did seem very evil. He seemed very, very evil, and I was worried about him. That's why I didn't want to come over. He's an evil, evil man.
He's super evil.
Hey!
Yeah, he's just so evil.
Hey!
Whoa.
What the hell is going on here?
Whoa. Hey, Tim, listen to me. You listen to me. She's good, you're evil, and I don't care what you say. She stays.
All right. Steve? You always an asshole. Hey, you'd always take our stuff as kids.
You take your hands off him, boy. Take your hands off him.
Dad, stop it.
Get off him. All right,
Dad.
son.
Dad.
Now, son, you got a bit of evil in you. I got just the thing. It won't cure you. You'll fix it a little bit. I got some of the flesh of Jesus here. And I got some good wine. It's the blood of Jesus. You eat and drink that, that'll calm you down a bit.
Dad, they're trying to take your farm, and I'm trying to protect it.
Nice.
That is great. Oh, that is so much fun.
Oh my goodness, I'm frozen.
Oh, no.
Boom.
Oh, are you back again? You know, you can go ahead and exit the studio and then just click that link to come back on.
Is that the case? Let's see here.
Let's see. We see you talking. Oh, you were just frozen.
I'm just frozen. What the heck?
What the heck? Let's see.
What the heck? Okay,
Yeah,
so I'll just leave and come right back.
Come on back. And while you're doing that, we got fans already. We've got So Fun, and Robin is just giving you handshakes.
Sweet.
And Robin, while you're coming up, this actually noticed kind of to John's comment. I thought this was a really good note. We found that you can harmonize at the end of a song.
Oh, very
it's possible to sing in unison with varying latency issues. We have been having great success with our musicians streaming their piano feed over listen2.com. Robin, with a nice hint. I love that. That's wonderful. All right. There we go. All right. So I didn't mean to interrupt your applause. Robin also is giving you plenty of applause.
Oh, thanks, Robin.
So much fun. I love this. So really just great stuff. You see the potential. One of the interesting things that came up in the other directors talk, there's something unique about the fact that with Zoom, you don't really have a sense of where I am as an audience. You know, when you see people talk, you know, like on a play or TV, they're there, and it's kind of lost in Zoom of where is my vantage point. And this, in the cinematic quality, kind of helps. You really are able to get their placement of each other and their relationship to each other, which helps in my relationship to them.
Yeah, right? And there's also, one thing that I want us to talk about is space objects. Space objects are mind objects in improv, right? And improv, I love space objects. They're what started me teaching. But what I realized,
for people that don't know, just give a quick definition of space
object. A space object would be like, I'm in a scene and I open up a fridge, pull out something,
right,
and drink it, right?
So people would call it miming, pretending an object, space object, great.
But what I realized very quickly was space objects breaks the illusion, because Hollywood pays people a lot of money to be set dressers, to make sure that actors have all the props that they need. Well, so drinking like this doesn't look so good as drinking like this. Here, I'm trying not to do product placement. So what I've been teaching people to do is just do them off camera. Right?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
I can be washing dishes and be like, yeah, I'll take the dog out for a walk. Just got 2 more plates to go. Right? If I make a quick reference to it and then am doing the action off camera, I could even be doing it over here. I could be washing my hands. Yeah, I'm scrubbing in. All right, let's go. Right? It sells the idea enough, and we're allowing the audience to fill in the blanks.
I like that, and in a sense, I like it all. Like John was saying earlier, it's everything. Like it may be one scene where you're doing the famous cup, what has now become famous cup passing. You know, the handshake, the book that becomes a book. All of this.
I actually, sorry.
All this has been done. You're breaking this open and offering a few more tools. I love the choking. Like I love choking. I mean, that sounds like a whole other thing to talk about. But
that's a subgenre.
Yeah, but that allows, and I think for people, I mean, I was very moved by seeing your little introductory video that you just showed. I think you really get an idea of it, and we'll get to pitching at the end, but you do have workshops and classes for people to take all of this.
Yeah.
But before we go into more, just for both of you, and I know we've got some more bells and whistles that Marcus has to show, but besides this new creative environment that we find ourselves in, you've mentioned some of the challenges you've had to go through. What have been some of the unexpected benefits that have come out of this? Like what type of new things that you never would have done, you never would have thought of happening, but suddenly 6 months later, there's been a lot of change?
I find the whole thing to be completely beneficial for directors and actors, because what I feel that it happens, but what I feel that happens is it does something. You really have to use your imagination. I mean, I was just watching Marcus and what he was doing, and I was thinking I had that happen in a couple of shows, and I actually had the girl pick her computer up, go into her own bathroom, walk through her house and brush her teeth. Really do it while she was there.
Yeah.
And just coming up. The benefit of it is it's allowing our imaginations to expand and break new ground. It feels very groundbreaking, and that's in itself a huge benefit because you don't get ground break a lot.
You don't. No, you don't. I agree. Marcus, anything you'd like to add to that in terms of what you've benefited from?
Yeah, I mean, they say that necessity is the mother of all invention, right? I would have never, here I've always loved bringing technology into improv and theater, and I mean, heck, that's one of the projects that we worked on together, right? And then, but I would have never thought to bring classes online, and I have someone in Budapest that wakes up at 5 a.m. to take my class. I've had someone wake up at 6 to take my class in India, and so all of a sudden we have a worldwide audience. This has been, I've been doing improv for 20 years. Moment Improv has only been open since 2014 for all intents and purposes. But now, like, I'm on almost equal playing field as the big theaters. We if we're innovative and we keep asking what's possible and pushing that envelope, we're going to attract the right people from all over the world, and it's amazing.
What's interesting in the benefit to talking about the classes, because I too have people in Chicago and New York, but I don't know that we'll ever go back to the classroom again. And the reason why is because no matter when you're in a classroom and you're in a theater and you're teaching acting, the acting tendency is to always get theatrical. And in Hollywood, it's all about film and TV. And so what happens is when I have my 20 people come in on Tuesday night at 7:30, actually 5:30. I made it earlier because we're on Zoom. When I have them come in at 5:30, I'm training them on camera. I'm looking at them on camera. So I have the most amazing thing that's blowing myself and my class away is the growth that people are coming into from class to class is not the same growth as it was when it was in the room. It's way big. People are making way bigger steps on Zoom than they were in the room. I think what I would ultimately like to do as I continue my classes, I would do 1 month Zoom, 1 month room, 1 month Zoom, 1 month room. Because you do that. You do need the chemistry and the camaraderie.
Yes.
But there's something about being on camera that is just it's infusing it in their acting more than being on camera in a room with an audience.
That's interesting. Yeah, Marcus.
I feel like one of the hardest lessons for any actor, improviser, or human to just like realize is that less is more.
Yep.
Especially in on-camera work. And so, talking about an in-person class, you have someone do a scene and instantly they're like, oh my God. Right? Where it's like you can't do that on camera because it looks so hokey.
Right.
And it has to come from here. You have to feel the emotion. And there's this exercise that I do where I have someone just be like this on camera. And I coach them through, I call this emotional stretching. And I'll coach them through different emotions. Remember a time when you were happy. Remember a time when you're sad. And we sit with these emotions. And everyone else in the room is watching just the person's face. And I'm telling the person, don't emote. Just simply think about this emotion. And the audience sees the emotion every time. It's amazing.
It really is this kind of unique merger of cinema and theater strung together with technology. as we advance in this and the technology, I mean, I'm hearing from various performers. I wouldn't be surprised, Marcus, because you're in the business, being approached by other technical companies, basically saying, what can we do? How can we tweak this? Zoom is obviously listening and making changes that are in particular very helpful for theater production or live streaming productions. And so is there seeing all that kind of play out? I appreciate what John, you're saying in terms of a mixing of both. And then Marcus, the fact that you also had both backgrounds, that's really kind of helping you explore. And and your students now, and I'm obviously rambling here because I forgot really COVID brain what that point was that I was going to make. So I'm going to. What's that?
It's Wednesday.
Okay, so wait, I got a what's next show. Hold on a second. I'll be right back. All right, I'm going to actually save myself by going back to comments, and actually we got a comment here by the wonderful Peter Michael Marino, who is an all-star pioneer out there on streaming. He's saying, Robin Rothman, these Zoom tips are fantastic. Peter, I agree with you. And as we're coming down to the final line, I'd love another tip from each of you. Let's start with John. Let's do another tip or thought, something that you kind of discovered, maybe with rehearsing actors or anything you want to share?
I think, let's see, a tip. Come back to me.
All right, I'll come back to you. Marcus, let's give them one more tip from your improv book of tips.
I'm going to cram two into one.
All right, go for it.
The first one is, this is huge. Look into OBS.
Yes.
It will change everything. Streamers have been using it for years. It's free. And it is literally a rabbit's hole. You could literally spend days, if not weeks, just diving down and learning all the intricacies. But this is production. We're not in a theater. And, we have to be thinking in terms of video editing.
Yeah. Or
right?
video, like TV production.
Yeah, TV production. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
he's got a two-parter. Oh, you lost your term, Mr. Coppola. We got Marcus going up. It's give and take, John. It's give and take.
So the last thing that I would say is it's really easy to look at a piece of software and say, oh, this is what this software does.
Yeah.
Boom. I urge you to think outside the box, because any piece of software out there you can extract certain components that you can use and daisy chain them together. At the end of the day, to get one of my shows to work just for a 2-person show, we're using 4 computers, 2 tablets, 3 instances of OBS, a cloud network, and a bunch of other just technologies that I've cobbled together that just work in a harmonious way.
When this is all over, I'm coming over to your house, Marcus. I'm serious. There'll be a knock on the door. Pandemic lifted, knock on the door. I'm going to be there to look at this, because it sounds like a tech dream world. And as Marcus mentioned, we did work several years ago on kind of a techno improv that was like stage 1 of all this. And I want to talk to you more about it, because I think what you're doing here is just wonderful and new crazy ideas. And John, I'm going to get you a chance, give your tip, and then I'm going to come back to Marcus because he's got the last bell and whistle.
I'll make it quick. I think that my tip on all of this is don't be afraid of the unknown, and take the challenge on and figure it out. And I had a scene where somebody had to throw water in someone's face. They had to grab pens from each other. You look at it and you almost want to back off. And it's so much fun to lean into. Make it be a fun thing and not a struggle. That's my tip.
Yeah, I like that. That's a nice boom. Boom. I love it. So drop it. But we drop it. But I do. Marcus has given us a little taste during that last film, but he has an entire world that he is going to give us a quick little virtual tour. What's going on here, Marcus?
Oh, you want to do that?
Do you want to do that, or do you want to do? We'll have time for the clip. Do we have time for this?
I mean, it's your show.
We're not sure about that. Obviously, you saw that a few minutes earlier. It is. So I want to see this stuff. I want to see
what
the fans do.
So a couple of things. I'll just run through a couple of things. So one thing that I've been really getting excited about is the idea of building virtual sets. And what I mean by that is I'm going to go ahead and black this out just for a second, but then I'm going to go ahead and show you the box office. So this is Unscripted Theater in San Francisco, California, where I host my classes, and they're a wonderful theater and wonderful theater company. And I wanted to make it so it felt like for students when they came to classes that it kind of felt like it used to. And so I'll often be like, okay, so here we are in the theater. And that time I operated that from the desktop app, but also this is all tied into a tablet. So I can actually then take you into the theater.
Wow.
I can turn on the lights in the theater or turn them off.
Is that just changing images?
Yeah.
Okay. It looks freaking awesome.
It's great. Sometimes what I'll say is the way you say something may be the perfect way for someone else's lights to go on. It's pretty cheesy, but everyone loves it, so why not? So there's if you've seen the movie The Usual Suspects, I'm going to turn it into a verb. Dude gets Kaiser Sosed, right? Telling a story based on everything that's in the background of someone. So I've got a workshop that I teach called Usual Suspects. And all of this kind of got born out of that. And what I'll teach people is simple A to B thinking. But then what I'll do is I'll then pull up an object like this, and I'll say, okay, so what do you see? Of course, it's a table. But what I see when I see that is I see 4 legs, and 4 legs makes me think of quadruped, which makes me think of elephant. I see the flat surface and the color of that, and then that makes me think of the Sahara Desert. I see how one of the legs is hiding behind the other leg, and it makes me think of unsureness and uncertainty, right? Wow. So basically, what I'm doing is any story is just a series of strung together ideas. And one of the hardest parts of improv is improvisers, we make it more difficult for ourselves by not dealing with what's already there. We're often reaching out for ideas, when if we just look close enough, the ideas are already there. I've got a cat hair in my eye because I've got a long haired cat. So I teach people how to find the seed of an idea from a basic image. And then I take them into something like this, where I teach them how to tell a story using all of these objects or aspects of these objects. But then this is where it gets really fun. Then I will take people into virtual reality. Wow. And right here, this is actually my house, and I'm doing this interview from right here, right? So what I can do from here is I can then fly people around in Google Earth. Going to go ahead and go on into the city.
Wow.
This is kind of nice. But what's nice is I can pull people down and go to a location, and then they can look around. Oh, no social distancing there. They can look around and pull inspiration from the world around them.
Wow.
That's really
right.
Yeah.
So and then if I had someone in virtual reality talk about a scout location person, all of a sudden I could take people to anywhere in the world.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I've heard that's so brilliant to see, Marcus. I just love the creativity you're using. It reminds me, there's a lot of these new things coming up. I know you kind of brought this together, but I've heard like avatar virtual waiting rooms where people are walking around, and then you turn, you enter a room, and that room becomes a Zoom room. And then you're like talking in that room. Then you leave the Zoom room and walk around. So it really is, I mean, that is a whole nother level. And it's kind of a lead into my summation question, which John kind of already answered for himself. But once the theater's open and we go back to our new normal, are you still going to be doing all this tech thing? And I think I know the answer to this.
Yeah. I think it's just added another thing to the mix. It's given us another medium.
Yep. Marcus?
Yeah, I mean, this is the reason why I wanted to be super methodical about like what was Moment's vision for online improv was because I wanted to make a super unique product, and something that had staying power. And I think that this does. And a crazy thing in San Francisco, a lot of actors don't take improv. In LA, a lot of actors take improv. In New York, actors take improv.
It loosens you up. It loosens you up. I mean, it's brilliant.
Yeah, it loosens you up. It gives you creativity. It makes you think on the spot, right? And so I'm hoping that this may be a magic bullet, because literally at the end of a class, within 15 minutes after that class, I can send my students a download link to the footage from their class, so they get instant feedback.
Yeah,
and it's so vital.
That's a great note. And John, with your workshop, since there is a progression for people to go to TV film, are you utilizing that recording sensation and stuff?
Totally. Yeah, we record all their work and we talk about it.
It's a natural. Yeah.
And the thing about it is people prepare their work on camera before the class sometimes, and then we don't do it in class. We just play it in class because the world is moving in and out. People aren't going into the rooms to audition anymore. You know what I mean? It's mostly self-tape and mostly Zoom meetings. And I don't know that I've had a lot of agents and managers that I work with tell me that they don't know that this is ever going to change, because why would a casting director at this point see 90 people a day when they could Zoom them, or get the tape?
Yeah.
So you really do have to master this, because acting on Zoom is different. It just is. And there's certain techniques you need in order to really pull it off.
Well, I want to thank you both for coming on and sharing those techniques. And I think both of you guys have a lot to offer for those students out there who are looking to kind of play in this world. I want to give you each a chance. John, I've got your, if you could bring up John's banner. What do you have coming up with your classes? How do people get in touch with you? How do people...
You can email me. I'm at john@studiocartist.com.
We'll put that in actually, we don't have a banner for that, but we'll make sure to go ahead and put that on the comments.
My classes are open right now. I'm actually probably going to be starting another night. So you could just contact me, and I also do private coaching. So, if you want to do privates, that's also possible too. It's kind of open, and the world is open, so it's all changing and wonderful.
Are you also directing along with NMI? Can you be hired to direct new streaming shows and all that?
No, I've as a matter of fact, I interviewed on 2 shows last week. I interviewed on another musical and 2 full-length plays. And so they're cool too, because you have to also, part of the interview is coming up with the new way in which you're going to do it and explain it to people.
It's a whole new world. Marcus, do you want to get your video up? It's kind of a promo, right?
Yeah. So what
about you? What do you got to sell, sir?
Let's see.
Here we go.
So, since this started, I've been doing a free Friday class. It's an hour long. The main reason for that is because I wanted to provide something for people who feel trapped in their homes. It's just an hour of connection. We get together, we play improv games. A lot of people take advantage of it. and that's free every Friday from 5:30 to 6:30. Wednesday nights, I've got a Wednesday night drop-in from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And look at that, I'm frozen again. Nice.
That is, this is a StreamYard feature.
Awesome.
Why don't you keep talking, unless you want to do a quick reboot?
Last time, right before I did the reboot, I came back, I saw myself. Okay. So we'll just, I'm just puckering up.
You're back.
There I am. Back. So aside from those drop-in classes, I just launched Improv Sunday School. I brought that back, and Improv Sunday School is for advanced improvisers. So that's kind of a gateway to getting in and playing around. I'm bringing back, I've got a level 1, I've got a level 2. I'm slowly translating level 3 into online. But then there's the whole Teleprov series, Teleprov A, B, C, and D.
Wow.
So there's a lot of offerings. We've got a jam that happens. It's fun. And we've got shows. I'm so excited to launch into these shows. Oh, my God. The infrastructure is built.
So let me ask you this before we go to shows. Let's say, including myself, I just want to kind of see some of this stuff in action. Can I come to your class, mute the camera, cut it out, and just kind of watch? Is that allowed?
Nope. Because
you got to participate.
You get to, not got to. You get to. Because the thing is, improv, in order for us to be able to do it, we have to feel like we're in a safe container.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
So
there are no onlookers, but come play.
Come play. All right. This is great. So hear that, everyone, including myself. Come play. And what shows? Do you want to play the video? What do you want to do? Do you have some more to say, or do you want to play?
Yeah. So, all I'll say is, like, with all this new technology, like, I finally kicked my own butt, and I'm like, yo, I have the stuff together. I should just start producing actual commercials. Mm-hmm. So I'm doing that now. So this is the first commercial. I just got a fun online subscription thing that allows me to download audio and video clips. So I was able to put this together in about an hour and a half.
Oh, let's check it out. Why don't you bring it up, Miles? We'll throw it onto the screen once you screen share it. While he's bringing that up, I'll make the plug for our show. Tomorrow we have a big press day. We have press from Time Out, the editor. Adam Fedman is going to be coming on. We've got online press from Shari Barrett from the Broadway World LA, and two wonderful reviewers who have fallen in love with online shows and are setting out to see as much online theater as they can see and write about it. Ooh. So for those of you interested in how to get your show seen online, how to go and get picked up on listings, we got a contender. Please check this out, because they've got some great information, and I think it's going to be a really fun show. And next week also, we've got a great lineup of shows. If you're still watching, please click on subscribe for YouTube. And are we ready there, Marcus?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Brett, share your screen. Bring it on up.
Oh, that's right. Because I left and came back, I get to play this game one more time.
Oh, right. Oh,
here we are.
All right.
There is death from above. It's called pitching. Some ideas are worth fixating on.
All right, September 19th at 7:02. That looks crazy fun. Is it puppets and people?
So Clay and I are doing a show where the basic idea is that we are stuck in the dreams of Stanley the puppet. And Stanley falls asleep to TV all the time, and he dreams inhuman.
Oh, that's great. Well, that looks so much fun. I'm definitely going to check that out.
Cool.
Again, thank you guys for coming online, being part of the show, and also, just more importantly, thank you for all you're doing with this. A lot of people have been devastated. Theaters are closing left and right. People are just concerned, and I really am looking at people like you two who are out there doing what you're doing, bringing artists into their art, letting them explore in this new crazy world, and really helping and saving people in these really tough times. So thank you for being active and doing all that. I look forward to hearing more, seeing your shows, and audience, thank you so much for tuning in. All this stuff will be online. We'll be having some more people up there. Thank you, guys. Let's give a clap, a little Zoom wave, everyone. Miles, if you can take us out to credits. Thank you, guys. Thank you all very much for coming on.
Thank you.